You know, it kind of strikes me as funny that, because I missed this until I was looking at it this week, that Isaiah calls this new king Mighty God. And I miss it because I'm reading it already knowing who that king is. Like, I already know it's Jesus. I already know Jesus is the Son of God. Jesus is God. So it makes sense to call Jesus Mighty God. But I'm sitting there as I was preparing this week going, why is Isaiah calling him Mighty God? Like, that's weird, right? Now, Isaiah uses a term, El Gabor. And the word El is the Hebrew for God. But it's used like in a variety of ways. And the Gabor is where we get the term mighty. It means strong and mighty. And so, like the video, like a little bumper video said, that it's an image of a hero. Maybe. There's some dispute, but I'm going to go with it. You all right with that? Follow me. Come on. So it's an image of a hero. And it kind of made me think, like, when Jesus shows up, one of the things that makes people think he's not the Messiah and that he's a false Messiah is because they think the Messiah is going to come in and clear out the Romans. And it's like, I think it's the mighty God. This is, of Wonderful Counselor, Everlasting Father, Prince of Peace doesn't give that impression that he's going to come in as a mighty warrior and clear out the Romans. But mighty God might. Mighty God just might do that. And so we get this image of a Messiah that is this conquering hero. They're going to conquer their foes. They're responding to people's needs, setting up an eternal kingdom, bringing peace and prosperity. That's what this new king is going to do. And so we get the Messiah as a superhero. And we kind of pick up on that because, like, is it any wonder why Superman is portrayed as a Christ-like figure? And they're not very subtle about it. The director of Man of Steel, Zack Snyder, said this when he was talking, like being interviewed about making the movie, about Superman, said, "I think the relationship between Jesus and Superman is not a thing we invented in this film. It is a thing that has been talked about since the creation of Superman. And in a weird way, probably was talked about more when Superman was created than it is now. It's one of those things, mythologically, you take for granted a little bit." Like, that's how unsubtle Superman as Jesus is. Now, of all the names that we're going to talk about during Advent, that we already have and will, that are on the wall over there, I think this may be, at least for me, may be the most comforting. Because it's great that I can talk to God about my problems. It's good news that He's an everlasting Father. I look forward to the peace that He will bring. But I need the mighty God. The one who will achieve victory. The hero who will rescue me. The champion who will overcome. You know what it's like to fight, right? Don't leave me up here by myself, people. You know what it's like to fight. I'm not the only one. We all have our battles to face. They might look different. For some, they look like addiction. Others, depression, isolation, poverty, racism, disabilities, stress, relationships. The list can go on. It's a long list, but we all, regardless of the particular battle, we all experience that battle. The experience of fighting and battling is universal. At the end of the day, I think our battles are for one or more of three things: security, significance, or belonging. Almost all our battles, all our struggles, all our insecurities can be tied to probably one of those three things. My particular battle is for significance. That's the thing that drives, that's the thing that, if it's taken away, triggers me more than anything else. I have a desire to achieve significance, to matter, to make an impact to people, to the church, to the world. The bigger, the better. I'm either and my battle, the struggle is against the fear of insignificance. So my drive, what I want is significance, is to be important, is to matter. And I'm triggered when I don't, when I feel like I'm dismissed. My fear is that what I do won't matter. That what I bring to the table won't matter. That who I am doesn't matter. I'm either disposable, irrelevant, or replaceable. Maybe your battle is for security. Maria has talked about growing up. She grew up in a poor home. Her dad used to work 3 or 4 jobs just to make ends meet. And so she experienced a lot of feelings of insecurity. Worried that they wouldn't be able to afford basic needs. Worried that they could lose everything. And so financial security for her became a driver. In fact, she's actually admitted to me that a not insignificant portion of why she went into nursing was because of the money. There were other pieces along with that and stuff, but that was not an insignificant piece. So she has this drive. Her fight is to provide, her fight is for financial security and be able to make sure that her family is secure. Maybe your battle is for belonging. Perhaps you grew up in an unloving family. Your parents or caregivers expressed that you were somehow unwanted. So you fight to be someone that people will like and want to be around. Or maybe you were a bit of an odd duck and never really found like you fit anywhere, and so you're always searching for a place where people like you. And for people like you, a place where you find acceptance with all your eccentricities. The point is, we're all fighting. And the thing is, at this level, that fight is abstract. I mean, how do you fight insignificance? How do you fight insecurity? How do you fight rejection? There isn't a person or group that you're fighting against. But it's easy to give that abstraction a face. It's easy to see that abstraction, instead of being something abstract, instead to see it as this person or that face, the other, be it immigrants, the neighbor, a boss, the rich, the poor. And we want to give it a face, right? Don't we want to give it a face, because it's easier to fight a person than it is to fight a concept. I don't know how to fight insignificance, but I can fight the people that make me feel insignificant. I don't know how to fight for belonging, but I can fight against people that make me feel like an outsider. I don't know how to fight against insecurity, but I know how to fight for things that make me feel secure. I think this is what Paul talks about to the Ephesians when he says our fight isn't against flesh and blood, it's against powers and principalities. That's what our fight is against. And see, I think that's where Israel missed the message, because they were looking for a savior against people. Assyria was a very tangible, real threat. And they thought their fight was really against flesh and blood. You know, those people right there invading, sieging our city, those are the enemy. That's who we're fighting against. And yet they're told that those people are God's own judgment on them. They're not the enemy. How do you fight against that? What chances do you have of victory when God has said, I've sent them to destroy you? Like we like to quote the verse, when God is for us, who can stand against us? But when God is against us, how do we stand for ourselves? And so if they're looking for the Messiah to come and save them from those people, that's not what the Messiah is coming to do. What should this tell Israel is that the Assyrians aren't the real enemy. What is their enemy? Rebelliousness, idolatry, injustice. Those are the things that God came and said, these are the things you're doing, that you're losing the fight on these things. Those are your enemy. And see, Israel struggles with the same fight we have. They continually seek security, significance, and belonging, and fight for them through compromise and accommodation. They need security, so they build treaties and they build alliances with nations that God has said, I don't want you to align with them. They want belonging, so they accommodate. They allow assimilation to happen, and they take on rituals and practices and things that God is like, I don't want you to take those on. I don't want you to look like them. I don't want you to belong with them. They want significance, so they seek power, and they gain alliances to try to gain influence and power. And God is like, I don't want you to do that, because you have to sell something that I don't want you to sell. They're tolerating the very things they were supposed to fight. And supposed to be trusting God to supply security, significance, and belonging. And so Isaiah eventually promises them victory, but not necessarily against the Assyrians, although their promised judgment is coming. Like they don't escape from this scot-free either. God is going to bring judgment on the Assyrians too, but their victory is not coming against the Assyrians. Israel will receive victory over their bigger battle, victory over rebelliousness, because there's going to be a new Jerusalem with peace and righteousness. They're going to have victory for security and significance and belonging, brought by this new king, this mighty God, this wonderful counselor who will give them significance and meaning, an everlasting Father who will provide belonging, and a Prince of Peace who brings security. It's almost as if that's what God knows. Those are our things that we fight for. And so even in his titles, he says, my titles promise security, significance, and belonging. So what do we do? If God has promised that, what do we do to live into that? How are we supposed to respond to that? And that may be the most difficult part of the battle, because it's going to take surrender. We're so amped up and believe we have to fight, that it's going to be on us, and that we have to, gird up our loins and go to battle. But instead, we have to gird up ourselves and surrender. We actually achieve victory through surrendering. Because in the upside down kingdom, surrendering does not equal defeat. We aren't giving up. We aren't giving in to our despair. We aren't quitting. Those all lead to defeat. We are surrendering to the mighty God, the one who will provide victory for us, the one who delivers us our security, the one who delivers us our significance, the one who delivers us our belonging. See, Maria isn't going to find security by struggling for it. She's not going to find security by fighting for it. The fight itself will lead her to scarcity. Because she'll get to where she'll never have enough. The fight for security leads to never having enough. She'll never be able to stop acquiring. She'll never be able to stop providing for her family, never be able to experience rest. Because the struggle is going to continue. It puts her in the mindset of scarcity. She finds security by surrendering to her mighty God, who will provide all she needs so she can stop fighting and stop grasping for it and instead can live in God's abundance. I won't find significance by fighting for importance. It will lead to using and abusing others for my own benefits and purposes, and elevating my own ego and hubris. I'm just being honest. Like, hubris? Hubris is essentially thinking yourself bigger and more important than you are. It's a term from the Greeks. So all those stories with like Icarus, who flew too close to the sun, they called that hubris. So when you hear all those Greek stories where somebody was like, whether it's what's the guy with the Pegasus? I can't remember. There's a story of a guy who gets Pegasus so he can fight the Chimera, Bellerophon. And he fights the Chimera, and he starts thinking, I'm pretty swell, and so he decides to fly to Olympus, and Zeus is having none of that, and he's like, you're not special, Pegasus is special. And so he throws Bellerophon off and then keeps Pegasus for himself, and then eventually puts Pegasus in the sky, and that's why we have the constellation Pegasus. So that's what, am I in the ballpark there? And that's where I head if I'm fighting for my own significance. So what happened? What do? I have to surrender. I have to surrender to my mighty God and to stop fighting for my own significance. I have to trust that my mighty God will accomplish meaningful things through me if I allow Him to do meaningful things in me. When I'm fighting for my own significance, I don't have time to deal with my own issues. I don't have time to deal with my flaws. And so I have to pretend like I don't have any, which leads to hubris. And then my wings burn up and I crash and burn in the ground. It's Christmas time, so we have to talk about It's a Wonderful Life at some point. God has to do something in George Bailey before George Bailey can see how significant his life is. God has to do something in him that allows him to even see what God has been doing through him. If your fight is with significance, you will never see how significant you are until you will surrender it to the mighty God. And he can work in you to give you eyes to see what he's been doing through you. I was talking to Harvey last week or the week before, and I was asking him about church stuff. And I asked him the question, what kind of faith community did he long for? As we talk about in the prayer time today, that disruption leads to, we can't go into a better future unless there's disruption. And COVID has certainly provided a significant disruption. And so it seems an appropriate time to be asking people, what do you think of church? And what should it be? And just re-examining what this thing is that we gather together and create when we're together. And so I asked him, what kind of faith community do you long for? And Harvey, being the incredibly wise and insightful person that he is, said to me, I'm not sure that's the right question. Because the community is what it is. You just learn to love what it is. I think that's what it looks like to surrender the fight for belonging. When we fight for belonging and we're constantly, we actually, when we fight for belonging, it's the same like it is with security. We fight for belonging, and the fight for it keeps us from ever finding it. Because when I'm looking for the place I belong, and we're looking for people, we end up looking for where's the place that everything's like me and that I like it. And we never find places where we like everything. So we constantly end up bouncing from place to place, looking for a place to belong, but belonging doesn't come because you like everything. Belonging becomes because you grow roots and you establish your place and are accepted for who you are, just as you accept others for who they are. And then all of a sudden you're with people that you may not agree on everything, you may not see everything the same way, but they love you and you love them, and by God you belong.
Hallelujah, preach it.
If belonging took fighting, if it took the fight to find places where everything's done the way I like it and everybody sees things the way I do, we as a church would not exist. And I could say that just of the white English service part of the church, let alone altar and the total body. But the thing is, we're going to be part of a faith community in heaven. And we've talked about how that faith community is going to be diverse. I mean, John has the vision and sees heaven and sees them all in nations and other tongues because they're all speaking different languages. So that uniformity is never going to exist. But belonging isn't found in uniformity. Belonging is found in the unity of the mighty God. And when we surrender our striving and our fight for belonging and allow the mighty God to deliver belonging to us, then we will learn to love the community around us instead of asking the community to be what we think we already love. How many marriages didn't survive because the spouses, rather than loving the person they married, they loved and married the person they hoped they would become. I love my wife, and I know she loves me, but we are not the same people we were when we got married. Not even close. And I am grateful that my wife saw something in me that was better than what I was. And I'm grateful that she has worked to help bring that out in me. But my wife loved me, not the version of me that she hoped I'd be. And I her. When we surrender belonging to the mighty God, He delivers belonging to us in a way that allows us to appreciate the diversity and the difference. That's pretty special. And then maybe we all get to say, like Harvey, like, the community is what it is, but I've learned to love what it is. What battles are you fighting? Which one of those three things is the heart of your struggle? Security, significance, belonging. Which one of those is the one that grabs you? Which one of losing those is the thing that triggers you the most? And then, what would it look like? What would it look like to surrender that to the mighty God? To allow God to deliver victory to you instead of fighting for it yourself. Often it's going to look like surrender. It's going to look like giving up on the very thing you're fighting for. What's that look like? And then how can you step into that today? Thank you for being part of our online family. Don't forget to subscribe and click the bell so you get notifications for any future videos or content. And feel free to please share with a friend. You can also follow us on Facebook or Instagram. And if you feel so inclined and would like to donate and support our ministry, please click the donate button found in the description. Thank you, and God bless you.